If you don't care about your kids, being a dad is easy.
That's very true.
It's hard because you care. When you have a baby, they're not on a schedule, and certainly they're not on your schedule.
They are on a schedule, just not one that meshes with your life. I definitely remember sitting there and just like, please God, like just make this baby go to sleep. Hi, I'm Tony Cooper. This is the Dad Manual Podcast, and I'm here today with one of my favorite dads. You are Matan and Matan and Maya's dad. Will you please introduce yourself?
My name is Lior Weinstein, and I'm a great dad, and I have some wisdom to share.
I'm really excited about our conversation. You and I haven't known each other very long, but I think we bonded really quickly. And you are a great dad by all measurements. Everything I've seen, you deeply love your wife, you deeply love your family, and you make a huge impact in the world. I'm just interested in digging into where all that came from and your ideas about fatherhood and what it's been like being a dad. So maybe just start by telling me about your kids.
Yeah, I have three beautiful, amazing kids.
Yeah.
My firstborn, Matan, was born 10 years ago, and I just turned 30. And it was pretty interesting because when my wife and I started dating, so I was like 21, she was 22.
And you were both living in Israel.
And she always wanted to be a young mom. And she told me when we started, maybe a few months in, that she wants to be a young mom. I told her, that's not going to happen. And in my mind, I always thought I'm going to be a dad when I'm 30. And then 2 months after I turned 30, Matan came in, and unplanned, but somehow planned. And, he's the kid that made me a dad. So he'll forever have that place in my heart. Mm-hmm. Beautiful kid. He's like a mini version of my wife.
Yeah.
In male form. And a few years after that, Matan was born. He's 7 now. And Matan was born in the car on the way to deliver him. So on the side of the highway in Atlanta, every time we're in Atlanta, we're like, oh, that's the exit.
No way. All right. Tell me more about that. Tell me that story.
Yeah, he's, so with Matan, it was a pretty long delivery, about 30 hours. So my wife got into labor, and it was somewhere like at night, and then we kept in touch with the nurse. They told us when to come into the hospital. We came in like in the morning, and then it went on for a very long time. We were there in the hospital for another full 24 hours. And so the second time when she got into labor with Matan, it felt very similar, like nighttime. And I'm like, so we're relaxed. We're good. I'm taking a shower. We're fine. We talk. She's timing her contractions.
Don't you love like the arrogance of, I know what's going on. I know what's going to happen. Yeah.
Of course. And we had our 2 dogs at the time. And my sister, who lived at the time in Atlanta, came over. Matan might have slept over at my mom's house or something. So we're getting through the process, and she's timing her contractions still a few minutes apart. Great. We get into the car, and suddenly she's like, it's like 90 seconds or something. I'm like, oh, she probably hit the wrong, timer button in the app, the reset. I'm like, okay, we're starting to drive. And then she tells me, I really think we should stop. I'm like, well, 12 minutes away,
right?
It's fine. And then she takes off her seatbelt, and I'm like, no, put it back. We have to be safe. Then she's like, no, stop. And I stop on the side on the highway, and suddenly we hear a cry. Like, Wah! I'm like, okay. So I get out of the car, open her door, pull him out, put him on her chest. He was beautiful, looked fine. And amazingly enough, like a month or 2 before, we were doing this kind of birth class training, and they had a flyer of what to do in case of a car birth, like have towels in the back. So my wife actually put stuff in the trunk.
No way.
And I'm like, holy shit. So I call the midwife, and I tell her, it was like a birth center in Atlanta, and tell her what happened. She's like, well, technically I'm supposed to tell you, call an ambulance or go to the nearest hospital. I'm like, and I'm looking at her, I'm looking at him. They're great. He's just like, happy on her, not
Yeah.
crying and everything. I'm like, I
Oh,
think we're just gonna drive to you. And my wife is like, go to Emory. It's a big hospital in Atlanta. They give gifts. I'm like, I'm not gonna go to Emory. I'm not gonna go to the parking
Straight's like,
lot
I'm
and do
off
the
the
whole
limb.
thing. So I'm like, I'm just gonna drive to you. So we drove all the way there, and we met everybody in the parking lot, and our doula was there and holding out an iPhone light, and I'm in the car cutting the cord.
Oh
I have a
man.
video of all this,
Of course you do.
and we get inside. Placenta comes out. So this was like 5:30 in the morning. By noon, we were back home. We're back home.
Wow.
And so Matan, just like he came out into the world, that's exactly how he is
Mm,
right now, full of energy and full zen.
man.
He's the most calm nervous system kid you would meet in your life.
I mean, I've never even heard of a birth that fast. Like, that's
It was
crazy.
very fast. Yeah, very fast.
Wow.
And we constantly joke on it that Eitan is like a mini version of Sarit and Matan is like a mini version of me. And both of them, of course, have this like beautiful mesh, between us. And then lastly, Maya was born 3 years after Matan. And sweetest girl, also a mini version of Sarit.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed also with all of them, very different personalities. So there's always the nature nurture conversation. And once you have multiple kids, you realize the nature version of the conversation very much.
Yeah.
Same household, same parents, same ritual, same everything, same neighborhood, materially different behaviors. And that was one of the interesting things for me to see that with Eitan, we were it. He learned everything from us. And then when Matan and Maya came, there were more programmers in the house.
Mm.
Like they
Mm-hmm.
started learning from the other kids. And then it's like, whoa, I didn't expect it. And I think that's probably one of the more beautiful surprises that you have when you have multiple kids, like how the kids parent their siblings.
Yeah, and it's not even that big of an age difference between them too. So that's the interesting
No.
thing, is sort of the natural order of stepping into that responsibility. And some kids do, some kids don't. And to your point, they are who they are. I mean, they are, which just tells you like they are something right before they get here. They're not becoming whoever they are when they arrive. What's interesting, as you were talking about that, is that they each had sort of a different birth experience. And I wonder how much of the birth experience either was caused by who they are or caused who they are. Like if you
Yeah. So Eitan, longest birth, but he was also like upside down.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had mechanical challenges with his birth.
Mm-hmm.
And Matan, of course, slid right out.
Ready to go.
Yeah. Maya was a water birth.
Okay.
Maya was probably the most, they say in births, if you have a birth plan, throw it out the door. Like you just never know.
Right.
Maya was probably actually followed the birth plan, meaning we got on time. Labor progressed well. She went into the tub. She got out in the water.
Oh man, that's
I
awesome.
was like pristine. And really, I mean, one in a million, like it's just rare.
Right.
I think Matan is definitely like, however he came out, that's who he is now. And also his baby mannerisms are very much his mannerisms now as a 7-year-old.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Even like nervous system stuff, like how he grabs and holds, his touch and smile and like those kind of things. Eitan, as a firstborn, like most firstborns, like a rule follower, kind of border collie, try to gather everybody, make sure everything is okay, make sure everybody's satisfied, happy, kind of thing. Super smart, very curious, but he has probably the biggest heart in terms of how he processes people around them, right? So the most empathetic. And that's his learning as a person, as a kid, like how to know who he is and who are other people and have that separation. Matan doesn't have that problem. Matan is like, I know who I am. Like has hardly any impact from other people.
Yeah, he's definitely mini you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And then Maya is a great blend. She's smart, but she's a girl. So girls are always, different. I don't know if their birth experience was a good predictor, I think, but their baby behavior was definitely consistent all the way to their childhood.
Yeah. Yeah. So walk me through you stepping into being a dad? One, it sounds like you always kind of knew you wanted to be a dad.
Yeah, I always thought I'm gonna have like 2 to 4 kids.
Do you remember a time when like that started, or you just was always there?
I don't remember when it started. Some people are like, I never want kids, right?
Right.
I never had that.
Yeah.
And I'm not a baby guy. I'm not a kids guy. So like, meaning, or I wasn't rather.
Right.
When Sarita and I started dating, we always said like, you have them until like age 6, 7. I'll have them past the age of reason, and that's gonna be a good like separation of powers,
Right.
between us.
Right.
That changed once I had kids.
Yeah.
But I always thought I'm gonna be a dad. I don't know that I always had a passion to being a dad, but I always thought I'm gonna be a dad.
Great. So let's start with Aton. Did anything change during the pregnancy, or was it different for you once he was born?
During the pregnancy, to be honest, I was just anxious about my wife, the health side.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's a big deal. A lot of things can go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even because she had like a very long labor, I was just like in the hospital room while she was sleeping. I was looking at both heart monitors, like beep, beep.
Yeah.
Like, until he came out, I was still kind of on edge, for sure. So I think a lot of my focus was definitely her.
Right.
And I wasn't minded for the visions around the baby yet. Of course, I was happy and excited, and we did a lot of things, but I was really like focusing on her being well and doing whatever her intuition said to make the baby feel great, right, in her womb.
Yeah, we're definitely out of our depths on instinct in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing, right? Like, we're spectators.
Yeah.
Just really.
Yeah.
Just witnesses. Once he came out, though, it was great. I loved holding him. I loved playing with him. I loved giving him attention, even though I didn't know what to do. And I certainly got better at it with the other kids after. And there's small stuff. So, for example, so we did this training, this beautiful, beautiful course I recommend anyone does. It's been around for decades. It's by a nonprofit called the Institute for the Achievement of Human Potential, IAHP.org. And I found them when my wife was pregnant with Matan. So when Aton was like a year and a half. And in that training, they have training for parents of brain injured kids, what they call brain injury. There's a lot, but they have training for parents of well kids that don't have any brain trauma. Mm-hmm. And that training was incredible because it's like how to teach your baby to read, how to teach your baby to do math, how to teach your baby to do whatever. But it's not so much about the things that you're learning them. It's about the fact that they can learn as an infant. And you don't have to wait until they're 4 or 5. You can really teach them from day one.
Yeah, I mean, we're born to learn.
And what they show is the development pathway of how a small brain learns versus a foreign brain learns. So it's small stuff. For example, a lot of people, they go to babies, go to infants, and they're like, what's your name? How are you? How are you? They repeat. It takes a small brain, according to the training, 30 seconds plus to respond. So by you actually stacking the good morning, good morning, good morning, you're actually creating pattern interrupts. Because if you notice it with a baby, young baby, you say, good morning, now wait. Wait 30 seconds, they're going to suddenly respond. And that shows you that they're communicating and responding even from that age.
Got it. Just a delayed processing.
Delayed processing. It's delayed processing for the motor pathways.
Right.
So they get the input, but it takes them a while to activate the muscles.
Yeah.
To smile, say yes, say sound, whatever it is.
Total sense. Yeah.
That was a huge game changer for me because I realized I can have an effect even when they're, days old. So that was really dramatic with Matan and Maya. Like, there's that entire attitude. And since Aton was born, I still felt in the first couple of years until we had that training that I'm like, well, there's not much for me to do. He's being breastfed. My wife did like being a mom and playing and doing all these things. So most of my role in my mind was really the husband role. Like, how can I support my wife in the best way possible?
Yeah. What did you find? You were supporting her in ways you hadn't previously.
The biggest thing, I think, and certainly for me as an entrepreneur, I've been an entrepreneur for many years. And through that, I had control of my time. I control my schedule. Nobody tells me where to go, what to do.
Yeah.
And when you have a baby, in any baby years, They're not on a schedule, and certainly they're not on your schedule.
They are on
Put it
a
that way.
schedule, just not one that meshes with your life.
It's a indiscriminate one. For you, it feels random,
Yeah.
and it's a 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
When the baby needs something, she needs something, which means I'm there to help. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not just like the baby needs something and somebody's taking care of the baby. I'm taking care of the adult that's taking care of the baby.
What was that like for you?
It was great. I didn't have a problem with it emotionally, meaning I wasn't frustrated by it.
Mm-hmm.
It changed how I needed to manage my things, my time, my all of that. So more like, oh, I need to reorient. But I wasn't frustrated by it. It was a lot, but I certainly am not the one that did the heavy lifting.
Right.
So
You're right. It's like the least we can do. I mean,
yeah.
for everything that our wives have been through.
And that was my big insight like 6 months in. People ask me, how's it like to be a dad? You know, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I mean, it's really a different kind of husband because until then, my wife didn't need me 10, 15 times a day.
Right. Right.
Right. And now she needed me for the baby and for her stuff.
Yeah.
And also for other stuff. Let's say if we had a separation of tasks, she did certain things in the house, I did also for that stuff. So it was just a different kind of partner more than it was this big insight about being a dad.
Yeah.
Because in my mind at the time, certainly when Nathan was young, I was like, he can't speak yet. So it's not my skill set. My skill set really comes in well when you can speak.
Yeah.
So that was my experience as a dad in the first couple of years.
The crazy part is the mother's body is designed to grow a life and then
That's right.
birth the life and then nourish the life for months. I mean, it's a really self-contained system. And so for us, there's not a lot we can do. So I love that you're just putting it in terms of just, I'm there to support her. But there was a moment, I think it was about 6 months or so after Olivia was born. And she looked at me one day differently than she'd looked at me, like with a recognition, with a smile on her face. She was recognizing that I was there in a way that I don't think she had noticed. Like, another way of saying is like, I think she thought I was like another piece of furniture in the house until that moment. And the moment was like a clear recognition. I was like, oh, like there's something between us now. Do you remember with Eitan having any moments where it was like, now like I'm the dad?
Yeah, I had a few of those with Eitan. First of all, even when he was an infant, I did the diapers and the baths. Like I have a problem with any of those tasks, but it's exactly that smile. I remember that moment. I remember that moment where the smile was more than like, thank you for changing my diaper. Meaning it wasn't about some physical need that just happened, right? It was about him enjoying my company.
Yeah.
My energy and his smile. I mean, my kid's smiles, are really incredible for us. And he was a happy kid, a smiling kid.
Yeah.
And when he smiles, even now, I just see the baby smiling, and that's probably going to be all the way to his, adulthood. And that was my frame of really that recognition of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't about something I did for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think my wife was great at calming him down if he had anything. And then I became great at calming him down.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those moments as well of just like either going to sleep or calming down, whatever it is, those were also like super bonding moments. And I'm like, I'm the dad.
Yeah.
And that was really beautiful. And I'm still the nervous system calmed down, for him.
It's funny, the image that came to mind when you were sharing. I mean, like Sarit was calming him down. And you're like, oh wow, look at that. I remembered being in grade school and like kids like didn't know an answer on the test, and then like look over at someone else's and they'd steal the answer. It's
Right.
like that with dads. Like the moms have much more of a natural instinct toward these things, or at least maybe they have more time with the kid to kind of feel into it, or they're energetically connected in a way. So yeah, I was constantly like cheating off of Tammy's test. To pick up those tips on what does it mean when the kid's crying and why is this cry different than that cry? Like she had to educate me on all of that.
And that's something actually Serena and I, even when we were like a young couple in the first couple of years, we used to love watching these nanny shows like Super Nanny. I remember in the late 2000s, there was this lady that created this method called the Dunstan method, Dunstan. And it's still around. She's basically from Australia. She had perfect pitch hearing, and she noticed the 5 sounds that babies make that each match a different need, like hunger, tiredness, fatigue, and so on. So even then, we were watching it as just curious people. So when we had the babies, we used all those things. We had a lot of tools coming in because that curiosity was there. But it's kind of like reading about riding a bicycle and riding a bicycle.
Right.
And materially different. And that's exactly that experience, to your point. Like watching Sarit calm them down is like watching somebody be on a bike. And then when you're holding them, you can't feed them. So that already you're at the disadvantage.
Yeah. They don't know that though, right? They go
Yeah,
after
they
you
don't know
like,
that.
like there's so
Right. That's
get.
And you're different, more muscular. You don't have the mom energy. It's just
From a kid's perspective, we are completely different creatures.
that's right.
So then what was it like to go from 1 to 2? Because once you had it, you like had it down. You knew it. And then
I had it down. And we also traveled. So we were a big travel family. And by the time Eitan was 18 months, he was like on 17 flights. Like
wow, and a good traveler.
Yeah, great travel. We took him everywhere. We took him to Israel. We took him on boats. We took him in RVs. We took him on planes. Like we took him everywhere. So well-traveled kid. All of our kids well-traveled. So when we had Matan, we were like, okay, we have all the things.
Yeah.
You know, we have the equipment, we have the know-how. And then we just came off that training as well. So we had like even more confidence about like things to try and those kind of things. And, you know, with one baby, you have 4 hands and 1 baby, and 2 babies, you still have 4 hands and then you have 2 babies.
Yeah.
It was good that Eitan was already, 3. So it wasn't in diapers, but still, that's a very young age. Very, very young age. He's still not making his own food, right?
He doesn't have a job.
Yeah. And Matan was a really great baby, like easier to raise. I mean, Eitan was great as well, like easy generally as a kid to raise. But all of them, we never nailed down sleep, really. Like we tried different methods. We didn't quite nail it down. So that affected that, had a tone throughout the years for sure. Still does. Maya is 5 and she still likes to come to our bed. And I think my problem is I love it when the kids sleep with us.
Yeah.
I always loved it. Like if it was my choice, we would just have a big bed and all the kids would sleep with us. That is not my wife's choice.
Yeah.
And it certainly creates, the tiredness. I think that's probably the biggest factor for us. Just running businesses, trying to be present parents, and having the physical energy to do it. Physical energy was probably my biggest surprise on the second kid. It didn't affect me as much with Eitan. It affected me a lot with Matan.
How did it affect you?
Just being tired. Just being tired. Just like dealing with, like, let's say business stuff. But then Eitan needs something as a 3-year-old. And then Matan is on the random schedule again, right, as an infant.
Right.
So suddenly there's this compounding of surprises.
Yeah.
And that's very fatiguing, right? Like if you have a day or a week where most of your stuff are unplanned, you're constantly in response. And you're in response because you want to respond. If you don't care about your kids, being a dad is easy.
Yeah.
Easy.
That's very true.
Yeah. It's hard because you care.
Right.
It's not hard because you don't care. It's hard because you care. So you want to do all these things, and you also need to do all these things, meaning some of their needs are like physical, practical, especially in the first year or two. And you also don't want to miss the development opportunities as much as you can. You can talk about those.
So what changes did you have to make in your life in order to deal with all that?
So what happened to me after Eitan was born, about a year and a half in, I joined a startup. And it was like a fast-growing startup, fast-moving startup. We raised a lot of money over a short period of time, had a lot of users. And it was the first time I was like a startup entrepreneur and a dad at the same time. And that was very challenging. I got back at 7 p.m. from the office and I was spent. Like my energy was like nowhere to be found. But now it's bath time. And it's not the issue of bath time. Oh, my wife also had quite a day, right? Like raising a baby.
Right.
So it's not an issue of like, now you need to do the bath. It's an issue of like, now I want to do the bath. I want to be present, but my energy is just not there.
Such an interesting thing too for a dad. Maybe a more traditional setting where the mom's the stay at home and doing the work all day. She's spent by the time you get home.
Spent.
right? And she's like, I just need you to help. And you're like, I'm spent from the day, but it's like the clock resets when you walk in the door and you have to go, okay, whatever I had in my day, that was yesterday. I have a brand new day
That's
starting
right.
right now. And where
That's
do you
right.
get the energy from is a great question.
The reality is, it was very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a great solution for it. Like, it was
Mm-hmm.
like just rallying it up and forcing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it was great, sometimes it was not. Like, man, I really wish you would go to sleep.
Geez, I definitely remember sitting there and just like, please God, like anything, just make this baby go to
Yeah, just
sleep.
go to sleep. Just
Fuck
go to sleep.
me. Yeah.
And I still, the moments in the bath where he stares at me and smiles and we play and whatever. So with all of my fatigue, it was definitely like I don't remember how tired I was.
Yeah. Well, it's also crazy when you go like, I've never been this exhausted in my life and yet still doing things and still
That's right.
accomplishing things. Like I didn't realize it would be that possible to be this terminally exhausted and still fucking doing things and making stuff happen. I mean, I'm definitely not at my peak performance, but I'm surprised at how well I was able to perform in that fog of exhaustion.
And for me, it was different. I had a military career
Yep.
that was very physically demanding
Mm-hmm.
and also emotionally demanding. And so I was at that peak in terms of, let's say, load, but the stakes were different. The
Mm.
stakes were different. And this constant feeling that I had around scarring or not scarring the kid and scarring or not scarring my wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, like, what are those kind of record scratches that are going to have these long-term impacts for all of our relationships?
Yeah.
And I had a hard time. And then what happened when Matan was born, I actually decided to just leave my work.
Mm.
I remember that we were in a board meeting and the company wanted to go in a direction that I'm like, you know what, with this direction, that's not as interesting to me as what's going to happen now with the second kid. And I don't want to repeat those mistakes. So I actually took off and I was like, we did a 9-month-ish, almost a year sabbatical.
Wow.
And we traveled a ton in the RV and with
Mm.
the 2 kids at the time and our 2 dogs. So I can be more present and figure things out. Like, my answer was not doing both,
Yeah.
at least for that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I didn't stop and I had more kids and the kids were still. So I
Yeah.
figured it out eventually.
That sounds either super fun or super challenging, or probably a combination of the two, being in an RV with 2 kids under the age of 4 or 3
And 2 dogs.
and 2 dogs.
And 2 dogs. Yeah.
Because it's
2
like
like
what,
60-pound dogs.
like 200 square feet or something, like something
Well,
small.
when it's open, it's a big RV. When it's open, it's like 450 square
Okay.
feet.
It's the size of our apartment in San Francisco, by the way.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But most of the time you're driving and then
Mhm.
it's not
Yeah.
450 square feet.
Right.
We loved it. Yeah, we loved it. We've done RV travel before we had kids and then after also with Eitan. So we loved it. There's something about a small space, kind of San Francisco, New York, like when you live in a small space for a long time, you realize you don't need as much.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like gas fills the space, right? So if you go to a big house, suddenly you buy a lot of things. And so when you're in an RV, one, it's already very small, pure, like a small apartment, but then it needs to be smaller and more organized because you close it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it needs to be even more organized because you're 60 miles on the highway and things are moving.
Yeah.
So it kind of forces you to a more focused living,
Mm-hmm.
which we really loved. And we have beautiful memories. I mean, I remember I taught Eitan how to ride a bike in Montana, outside of Glacier National Park. And I remember that moment that suddenly he like rode by
Yeah,
himself with no balance, So beautiful, beautiful. And they have great memories from it too.
they do, because they're really young.
Well, we've done a lot. They don't have a ton
Oh,
of,
okay.
well,
Not from
Eitan has some memories from, let's say, that trip when Matan was a baby because he learned how to ride a bike.
right.
But yeah, we've done like other trips.
We started a little later than that. I think they were like 12 and 13, and we spent a whole summer driving
Yeah.
all over the country. And it's just, I cannot recommend that enough. It's definitely some of our favorite memories from them growing up.
Easy.
Yeah. So you mentioned not scarring your kids. That's definitely a focus of my interest in the conversation about being a dad, which is we all inherit a whole bunch of family trauma, family heirlooms, I like to refer to them as, right? Things that aren't really ours, but they were embedded in us. And it's just, there's like a lineage, it just passes down. And there's this real opportunity for dads to stop that, to be the one who ends it before it passes on. And what I notice is a lot of dads figure that out a little too late. Kids become conscious beings, they're awake, they're alive, and they remember all that stuff. And
Yeah.
so for you to have such attention on that, like, one, where did you realize that that was an important thing? Because I don't even think that crosses people's minds. And then what have you done in order to stop some of those progressions?
Yeah, Dr. Don Wood calls trauma emotional concussions.
Yeah.
And it's a really good frame for that. And I joke all the time, like, however I screwed up, it's between them and their therapist, right? Like we,
Yeah.
we never know,
Yeah.
what we do, because I'm sure some of my memories that came up from my parents, like, I'm sure they didn't think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
And when I now as an adult look at it objectively, that could have been nothing as much as it end up being something big.
Right.
So like, you never know how those events are going to metabolize and like what's going to come in and stay. So first of all, generally I'm throughout my entire life very well aware of relationships and like what binds people and what disconnects them. And I've researched human behavior. I've taught human behavior. In my businesses, my big advantage is being able to vision product, which is really just my intuition around how humans behave around a value.
Mm-hmm.
So meaning I'm mindful for it all the time. I was mindful for it before I had kids, and I'm certainly mindful for it now. And with the things that happened to me growing up as a kid, the things that ended up staying with me, still going through them, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want my kids to have them. So the only thing I can do is make sure that their origin stories around their problems is not as tied into us as avatars.
Yeah.
Because they'll have problems,
Of course.
but ideally they're not going to see because my dad did X, Y, and Z, or my mom did ABC. And at the same time, also make sure they have the right stories in terms of support. Meaning not just like my dad was great, but rather when they have a challenge, they know how to come to me. So to develop that trusted relationship, I always wanted to avoid a situation of the child is afraid to talk to you. I'm sure that's same for you. It's like your kid can do no wrong.
Mm-hmm.
In principle, just tell you what's going on, right? So you can guide and help and whatever that is. So that was always my intent from there. Like, how can I create a relationship with my kids so they feel trust enough to come to me? Not necessarily how can I create a relationship with my kid that I'm going to be their perfect Sherpa for anything in life, because I don't know all the things that they want. If they want to be artists, I'm not the guy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the teacher, but I can help them regulate.
You can't necessarily teach them how to be an artist, but you can support them to find the thing that they're passionate
Correct.
about. And that's something you're very good at. So you don't have to be qualified in their interest.
Correct. And that's a big thing. So before we had kids,
Yeah.
I read a lot of books on, again, just curiosity, right? Because for me, raising children is just like any human relationship. When I moved to the US, I almost became a dog trainer. Now, so like dog training also, it's such a puristic view on behavior, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have that language option as much.
Uh-huh.
So I read this book by this guy. His name is Laszlo Polgar.
Okay.
And he very famously raised his 3 daughters, and all of them became chess grandmasters by the time they were 14. His eldest daughter just had a Netflix show on her. Her name is Judith Polgar. So he wrote a book about how he did it. And that's actually how I found the Institute for the Achievement of Human Potential, because he referenced it in a line. He referenced the founder in one of the lines, and I was just Googling kind of.
Yeah.
And the book was about genius education. And apparently this is like a piece of research in the world that disappeared. It used to be very active. People used to be obsessed about how to do genius education, how to educate into genius. And then it stopped for a whole variety of reasons we don't have time to unpack. But in the book, one of the most interesting principles is the reason why he chose chess was because it was like Hungary, 70s, it was cheap and available. But he said it could have been anything. It could have been anything. It could have been tennis. It could have been drawing. It doesn't matter. The reason why Judith's sisters chose chess is because their oldest sister chose chess. So it was just, but it wasn't like chess was the thing, was the mechanism. The mechanism was passion and mastery in one thing. If you can have mastery in one thing, you can have mastery in anything.
Mm.
And he really describes that process in the book. It's not a very complicated process. And the reason he did it, he wanted to prove that he can do it. He and his wife basically homeschooled him. And as soon as I was exposed to that concept, I realized that it's just about giving them enough capability and certainty in an area of life. And once they have that, humans know how to translate. They know how to apply behavior from one area of life to another area of life. So if they know how to be kind with a dog, they know how to be kind with another person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If they know how to be creative in arts, they know how to be creative in science.
Mm-hmm.
For my kids, it ended up being, well, different things. There's some of them, they're still finding their passion, but Lego is a big thing in our house.
Yeah.
We just had Father's Day, went to the Lego store. We bought 5 sets. We built 4 in one day. And my kids have been doing it since forever. So they can do very complex sets. And they can also build, their own stuff. Because I know once they have that confidence, meaning they know how to think about something and they know how to make it real, make it up and make it real, they can do that in any area of life. And I don't know, they still haven't found the surfing, chess, science. I don't know what's going to be their passion. They haven't tuned into that yet. But I know that once they do, to your point, I can make sure to triple down on it and flare it up.
And what you're saying is there's a real value in depth versus width, rather than expose them to a lot of things and create awareness of a lot of opportunities. Just pick anything, as long as there's an interest in it, and dive deep enough that you can develop that sense of mastery, which just requires a lot of time, more than focused time.
A lot of time.
And there's something, as we're talking about this, it's also fostering the idea of commitment.
That's right.
Commitment to something. Because to your point, if I can be committed to chess, I can be a committed person in the world. And we never accomplish anything without being committed to it. So that really makes a lot of sense. I haven't heard it put all that way.
To tie it into the generational thing, my parents did the opposite.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, if I wanted to try something, I did it. Meaning, I wanted to learn magic, so I went to magic class. Wanted to, do computers, did computers. I wanted to try hockey, did hockey, whatever it is. On one hand, it was great that I had a very horizontal exposure to many things. And I still have it. I still have super horizontal approach to many things. I'm curious about many, 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 many things. But to learn how to focus on one thing vertically, I had to do as an adult. Way more difficult. Way more difficult. It's like to do that as an adult, and I'm lucky that I had my military experience that forced me into it, because otherwise it doesn't work. It would have been very challenging. And I think that's where a lot of people say ADD, ADHD. In most cases, it's not really that. More, it's like the result of this kind of horizontal exposure of many things, and actually just not getting a taste of what it means to pursue one thing for long periods of time.
Right.
And I'm trying to give it to my kids. And the other thing that came from it that is very positive from my parents, and I'm still giving that to my kids, is this feeling of abundance. Abundance mindset is very important.
It's everything.
In today's world, it's so material for success. And the fact that I wanted to try something and I just got a yes. I didn't get a no. I got a yes. It would have been nice, and everything happens for a reason, that it was a yes and dive deep.
Yeah.
Right? And don't just quit or stop because something is inconvenient or boring, because boring is the signal.
Yeah.
Is the signal that you need to stay.
Right.
So I still give that to my kids, meaning if my kids want to try something, there's definitely a yes, how. It's not a no. And I want to make sure that it's a proper yes as much as I can. And I don't, like, they just went on a motocross, like go learn how to ride the dirt bike. It didn't work out well because of like technical, like right sizes, right whatever.
Sure.
So I'm not going to push it on it. I'm not going to be like, you guys are going to be dirt bike, experts. There's definitely a line that I'm looking for around what's worth pursuing, what's not. But as soon as somebody says, I want to try a dirt bike, I'm like, yeah, we're going to definitely try a dirt bike. It's not going to be enough.
Yeah. Well, man, I feel like you and I are just getting started, but we should probably wrap up this conversation. There's so many other things I want to talk to you about. I'm so interested in us exploring like your take on AI and how that will impact being a dad and many other things. Clearly, you've taken that idea of commitment into being a dad, and like you do in everything in life. So we will do this again for sure.
I do want to touch on that though. So one last thing, because
Yeah.
it's going to be good. In my professional not dad life, I am an AI expert. I do give big talks, give workshops, like all these things professionally. Not too long after ChatGPT came out, I ended up talking to a group of dads in Austin.
Okay.
And the request was, can you talk about AI and family? I'm like, yeah. And that was like a whole talk that I gave. So I want to share like 2 insights from it.
Okay, and then we'll come back later and go deep on it. I love it.
Yeah, perfect. Philosophically, to me, we live in the world of atoms, but we communicate in the world of bits. And AI has incredible impact on the world of bits, right? It just collapses time. It saves us so much. It's not the end of work. It's the end of boring work. It's the end of busy work. But what do you do if you don't have the boring and busy? You do the passionate stuff, and you get to spend more times in atoms, less bits and more atoms. And one of my favorite early use cases was doing bedtime stories with my kids. My grandfather was an incredible storyteller, incredible, off the cuff, incredible. And I'm not like him. But then AI made me like him.
Huh.
Because suddenly at night, I would at the time be like, hey, give me a 10-minute bedtime story with Power Rangers, Minecraft, and my sons, Eitan and Matan, and make sure that it has 3 fart jokes, in it, because so it's funny.
That's right.
And it changed the entire dynamic of the night routine.
Oh, man.
Just for all the dads thinking about how can you use AI to make the relationships deeper, to make those moments better. And same thing, we're on a trip. We're in, some place in the world. Like, let's create a bedtime story, or let's create a story based on what we just did today.
That's so good.
I really love the application of AI in parenting. So it's definitely a topic worth pursuing.
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you, Lior. Appreciate you so much. I love you, brother. This is amazing. And 100%, let's just get the next one scheduled, because I feel like there's 50 more things I want to talk with you about. So thank you for sharing yourself, for sharing your time, and for saying yes to this.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, until next time. I just want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Dad Manual Podcast, and for supporting dads to become the best version of themselves as they strive to bring healing and inspiration to their families. I'm looking to grow a community of fathers who are ready to change the world, but I need your help. It's super valuable to the podcast when you like an episode, when you leave us a rating and subscribe to our YouTube channel, when you follow us on Instagram at the Dad Manual Podcast, and maybe even the most important, when you share the podcast with the dad you love. Also, you can impact what we talk about here. If you've got questions or topics you want me to explore, email them to me at dadmanualpodcast@gmail.com. I would love to answer your question on our next episode. And until next time, I'm Tony Cooper, and this is the Dad Manual Podcast.